Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Mishmash Monday. We got a bunch of projects to hit today, and one of them is from Evansville, Indiana. So let's go check it out. Okay, our first project comes from Adam Grove. He's an electrician from Evansville, Indiana, and Adam and we've been corresponding for a while. He's a tool collector and a restorer. He loves the hobby and enjoys the channel, so he wanted to send in something. He sent in this cool hammer from Germany, a multi-tool kind of. Let's go check it out. Like many of us, Adam likes a whole bunch of different type tools, and he picked this one up, and he just thought it'd be great for the channel for a restoration. And again, this is a German tool. These were very popular back in the 40s, 50s, and also, basically what it is, it's a, like I said, a multi-tool. And how it works, it has the hammer attached, the hammer head right now. By unscrewing the hammer head, you can see what kind of condition it's in here. You know, we've done worse than this, right? And then in here, in the handle, it's a hollow handle, probably some kind of boxwood it's made of. And you can see here what we have is, looks like it's a little bit of wax paper or something in there. And in here, these are the different bits that you can put in here. And we have a screwdriver. We have some kind of, I guess this is like a punch, an awl punch, a square punch, a type of chisel, and a screw starter. So all good accessories. And how they would work is they would fit into here like this, and then there'd be the set screw would tighten down onto the particular accessory that you wanted to put in. Let's see, you have to kind of back it out really. There's a little detent hole there, like that, and you want to get that to mesh. There we go. And that will give you a really tight, you got to spin it a little bit to make sure you're in that hole, and there you go. That's solid. It's a nice tool. They were great, but to work on this now, we're going to have to do to get this ferrule. The ferrule is always the tough part here. We're going to have to take out that pin. That pin looks like it goes all the way through and punch, so we're going to have to, it's peened over. We're going to have to drill it a little bit, pop it out, take the ferrule off, and start working on it. Okay, we put the V-block. A V-block is always good for holding round stock. We put that in the vise, and what we did is took this, put it on here, and took a sharp punch. See, it's always good to have a bunch of different punches. Took a sharp punch and put a little dimple in the middle of that rivet. You see there? Now there's the one side here is the thicker side, but we did it with the thinner side. Now a lot of times people will try and grind these off, but then you can damage the ferrule, so we don't want to do that. Put the dimple there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try and drill that out till it just get the head off. Now the drill bit we're going to use to start it is, this is a center drill, much more stout. It will not wander, and it's made to start holes, and we're going to use that, and we're going to try and knock right into that, that little dimple with the drill press. Now, once you have the hole, you can see we drilled a hole in there, and we're going to use the pin punch now and try and knock that out, and hopefully this will back out this way. Again, we're going to put it into the vise here with the vise jaws open just a little bit that we can pop out. Now, what I'd like to do is just open up the vise a little bit, and just so that this could pass through here, and press it onto here, holding it with the pin punch down here, and just give light taps until you could see this starting to back out. You could see there, it's coming out a little bit, and then when it comes out far enough, I'd like to take a vice grip and pull it out the rest of the way. Now you can grip the pin from the other side with a vice grip, getting a good grip on there, and just wiggle it back and forth, and just keep pulling on it, giving constant pressure and wiggling it, and you'll see that this will, you can see the pin starting to come out now, and that'll pop out. You just got to wiggle it back and forth. Don't try and force it, but it will come out just from a little wiggling back. Okay, now believe it or not, the hardest part of the restoration is actually getting this off there without doing any damage to the ferrule. It is a thick ferrule. It's a very well-made one, but you can see here there's a little bit of you know, the wood, that it gets a little punky after a while, but we're going to epoxy this back in to make it a little bit more stable when we put it back. I mean, that'll be on there permanently when we put it back on there. So the pin won't really do as much as the epoxy. That'll just stop it from pulling out. The epoxy is what's really going to hold it. And now we just have to clean this up and wire brush and take it to the belt sander and make it nice. Here we are at the post-wire brush evaluation. No surprises here. Cleaned everything up. Got in here with the round brush. Everything's nice, but we'll take it to the belt sand and really make that polish look nice. Obviously, this here has to be taken down because see that there? See that big corrosion mark there? And, you know, that's all. You got to go deeper than that. There's nothing you can do. There's no way you can. Plus, these edges are a little bit sharp for my liking. I don't like them that sharp. It has some nice little knurling on the front, and of course the Germany logo over here we'll try and keep. So let's get to that. Okay, we got about 15 minutes of sanding on this, and you could see we used a pretty coarse belt, and you could see that the grain in there from the coarse belt, but you can also see that it's got a little bit of a shine to it, right? Because you know, we have a light touch. We're not going crazy on here, but we still have a little bit more to go. And now these edges are really sharp. And again, these, you know, that square profile, we want to smooth these edges out so it's comfortable in the hand. We didn't touch any of the bottom with the coarse belt because it really, there's not too much rust, just some tarnish. So we'll hit that with the fine belt when we take out these scratches. Okay, we scraped the handle down with a razor blade, you know, just to get off the majority of stuff. But now we put it into the lathe. Again, this is why I picked up this chuck. You can, you know, take a hold of all different shapes and sizes. You saw that hole in the back there. That's originally where they put the turning. So we'll turn it on, and you can see how nice and true it runs. Now we'll just take some sanding discs or my micro mesh, the sanding mesh, and we'll sand this down. And it should be nice. Okay, now we took this down, and you can see this is what it's so smooth, you know, and it's so nice. And this is the original wood that they used. It looks like almost like a birch, but now we have to figure out what kind of color we want. Now I have all kinds of stains I can figure out what I want. I'm going to think on this. So we're going to have lunch and think about what color I want. Okay, now, you ain't going to believe it, but what color I'd like to do this in is this. I bought this paint when I was 15 years old. 40-year-old paint, over 40 years old. And it's you could see it's Kentucky green. And look at this. Look at that old vintage label on there, huh? Now, the cool thing about this is you just take a little paint, you mix it with some thinner, makes a stain, and then you burnish it in, and this should make a nice green color. And I did a few birdhouses, and I used this for the roof, and I just love that color, so I'm going to make this green. Now here's that birdhouse I was talking about. That you see here, I used that green, and I made it in such a way that the grain, you would see the grain underneath, and that's what I liked about it, you know. And I did it on that one too. And these are Christmas gifts I made. These are made this about 5 years ago, and that one about 4 years ago. These were that's a squirrel feeder, and you can see the squirrel goes in and gets the nuts, and then you could take out the jar. And this is a regular birdhouse, but that's what I was looking for, that kind of green that you could see the grain underneath. Okay, I have the color I was looking for, and I did the cap in red. But whenever you have a cap or something like that, you always want to have a line. You don't want to have the paint line going directly to the color. You always want to have a separating line, and we're going to try and put a black thin line. Okay, now this is not for the faint-hearted. In order to get that line on there, to separate the red from the green, we're going to use a Sharpie, a fine point Sharpie. You want to use a new one, and what I'm going to do is I have the lathe set to a very slow speed, 250 RPM. And you can see how slow that spins. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the marker and I'm going to gently touch this here on that line. Okay, now you can see here we have to turn a little bit, and we'll do it again. Okay, and then we'll take a look at it. And you can see we have a little bit of a separation line there, and that's what we want. And we'll hit it again just to make sure it's a little dark, but we want to make sure that line is there and black. Okay, you see how nice and crisp that line is now? That's just what we wanted, and it looks better than if the red just meets the green. Now we're going to leave this dry overnight on the furnace, and then tomorrow we're going to put a clear coat on here and seal everything up. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what this hammer looked like before we started. And we're calling this done. You know, this was a long video for such a simple project, but I'll tell you, I really enjoyed this one. It came out just the way I wanted, and look at that handle, huh? That's just what I was looking for. And look at the clear coat on there, how nice and shiny. And you can see here how that spins off the cap, and here is here's the parts that go inside. It's a chisel, a screw starter, a screwdriver, and some kind of awl. You remember these were all rusted on the tips. Polished them all out. They look as new. Just a beautiful little tool, isn't it? I know Adam actually felt what this felt like before, but look here. Now we have it just the way that this tool should look. Again, we were able to keep the Germany, the full writing. Didn't touch any of that with any grinding. I just love this little hammer. And I just love this finish, you know, that with the regal red and that green and the black line. I just really enjoyed this one. This was a fun project. Just goes to show you don't need big money projects to have a great time in the shop. And it's all epoxied on here, and I am going to put this back in the cap. I think that came from the factory. It looks like some kind of wax paper, but it does keep it quiet from rattling around. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this project, and thanks so much for tuning in. To Adam, thank you. It's a beautiful project for all of us to enjoy. And take care. Hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.